Welcome to this particular discussion on the topic Masters in Highly Specialized Area for people who have less than 2 years of work experience. Now, the notion is very simple, okay? For people in their early stage of their career with probably less than 2 years of work experience, doing an MBA program is not really suitable. We have looked at this in multiple discussions. We have told the best alternative is for you to do an MIM program, which might be more suitable for you. Then another interesting option is that there is something called as a Masters in Highly Specialized program. Okay, I'll show you some examples. Now, before we get into this session, okay, let me prime you this way. Let me shoot some very interesting questions. Why a regular MBA is not suitable for you? We've already looked at this from a different angle in terms of MIM perspective, but also from another perspective. The first question, you just throw this question towards yourself, okay? Do you have 4 to 5 years of solid work experience? No. Have you led large teams in your organization? Very, very thin chances. Very eccentric guys who pass out from NITs or IITs, or people who work in their family businesses. You have this particular venture where you can lead a large team in an organization, but even that's not something that you have set up in your family business. Okay, it's something what your parents have already done it. So, as an early stage in a career, leading a very large team in an organization is very, very thin chance or almost negligible. Is there a demonstrated track record of leadership and management? Very early and very impossible for you guys, because see, you've just entered the industry, you've just entered the career spectrum, right? You can't create an impact in an organization, you can't lead large team, and you can't have a track record because barely you've worked for a year and a half. You've learned what is the process inside the company, how does the firm work, what are the products that I'm working upon, what are the technologies I'm working upon. So this is also a very impossible question that's lying before you. Do you have any international exposure? This is an absolute interesting statistic. Why? Because we have seen a lot of students work with us, okay, across the globe. At the same time, major chunk of the students are in India. We've looked at this interesting statistics. 95% of the Indian students, okay, Indian students, when they complete their graduation, engineering, arts, science, and when they start working, 95% of them don't have international exposure. What do you mean by that is they have probably not even visited a different country. Forget about attending conferences, attending workshops, going for an on-site option, or submitting a research paper or a white paper. Those things are advanced. Most of the people have not even visited a country outside India. Okay, so when you have a no to answer to all these questions, okay, where you're really struggling to justify answers to all these questions, then an MBA is definitely not suitable for you. But then students come back to me with objections. So at the same time, even MIM is not suitable for me, because MBA and MIM are no different. It's just that MIM is something that you can start pursuing very early in your career. Then what is the next alternative for you? You can do an MS program. For example, you can do MS in some subject, technical research, in your own engineering background that you come from. Or if you come from a science background, you can do your MS in that particular background. But again, most of the people don't like it. Why? Because they love this stuff, what they studied, but they can't really continue their core career in the technical domain. So what is the next best alternative? There is a very interesting program called as Masters in Highly Specialized Program. Let me write it down. Masters in Highly Specialized Programs. Okay. Or in other words, programs, or in other words, these are called as Masters in, okay, Masters in Techno Managerial Program. Masters in Techno Managerial Program. Okay, why these are completely different from your MBA or even MIM is that these are meant for people who probably have a very strong technical background. Okay, it is something that they have learned in their 4 years of engineering, or in their 3 years of science, or let's say come from even a humanities background. Okay, doing a master's in highly specialized program or a techno managerial program is more suitable, because whatever you have studied in your 4 or 3 years, at the same time whatever you have worked in your 0 to 2 years of work experience, this program is more suitable to that. At the same time, not too much leaning towards management. Okay, there are two verticals. Okay, one is management, one is technical. Okay, whereas this program is not too leaning towards technical, at the same time not too leaning towards management. Okay, it's somewhere in between, and it's a very, very interesting program for many reasons. For people who have less than 2 years of work experience, for people who have non-management, non-finance backgrounds, these programs are much more suitable for you, right? Let's look at how. The reasons is that, one, they have relatively lesser tuition fee. Now, we've already seen this in the case of MIM, right? We compared this salary graph of MIM with an MBA person. We told that MBA is massively expensive, whereas MIM is relatively cheaper. On the similar lines, your techno-managerial programs, or what we call as a master's in highly specialized programs, are also relatively cheap compared to your conventional MBA program. I'm not saying they're very cheap, relatively cheap. Okay, to give you a very gross statistics, we have clearly seen this MBA cost you around 80 to 90 lakhs. okay, or even sometimes 1 crore and above if you do it from Stanford, Harvard, etc. Whereas MIM programs cost you relatively less. It starts from 8 to 10 lakhs to almost 30 to 40 lakhs. Okay, your masters in specialized sciences or even your techno-management program more or less range in the same bandwidth. Okay, again, if we already told you this, they have this 3-year OPT period. Let me clarify this thing. Okay, now let's say you do your MBA in US. Okay, first of all, after you do your MBA, the country will not grant you any visa. It is up to your employer to recruit you in that particular country or a different country, sponsor your visa and your paperwork for that particular job, and then the company is willing to pay you and recruit you for a particular job. Now, this is possible because the role that you're getting recruited is in a very, very high-end role. For example, your starting salaries itself is around 60 to 70 lakhs per annum. Okay, on this particular salary bandwidth, your paperwork and sponsoring a visa is a very small cost. Whereas when you look at MIM or even your techno-management programs or highly specialized masters, yes, you don't start with such high salary. You start with what, probably 30 to 40 lakhs. Okay. In these cases, sponsoring your visa or paperwork will be very, very challenging for the company. And that's where the program has been recognized as a STEM courses, where the country itself offers a 3 years OPT period, which means that you don't need any work visa. You work under something called as a student's visa. Okay. So the company employer doesn't have to pay you for your sponsorship. At the same time, he need not include the cost as a part of your salary package. So you get a decent salary. At the same time, your visa is also taken care of. This particular advantage is basically what your MIM program or even your highly specialized master has. Right. Again, I've already told you, right? This is a program that's highly suitable for people with technical background or working in the technical field with or without mid-level managerial experience, because it's natural, right? We all know the statistics. A majority of the Indian engineers get recruited in IT company. Very small percentage gets into what, let's say, a manufacturing or a core tech company. At the same time, majority of people coming from arts and science background, at the same time BCom, commerce background, they get into consulting firms or they get into banks or they get into BPOs, right? Now the problem is that it will take a lot of time when you're just an undergrad and you're working in an industry for you to become a manager. Ideally, 7 to 10 years. Good guys take 7 to 10 years. Average guys take 8 to 12 years. Bad guys won't even become managers. Okay. So that's why an MBA program might not be recommended for you, because it takes a lot of time for you to become a manager and then establish your prudence with manager. Whereas these programs don't require you to have a very strong managerial experience. But since you're already very strong in your technical aspects, because you're working in a core technical thing, right? You're working in coding, or let's say you're working in a core IT, or you're working in a testing. So these programs are more suitable for you, right? Okay, some of the examples of masters in highly specialized program that I can suggest are basically your MIS. It's called as Masters in Information Science, or Masters in Business Analytics, or even MEM, Masters in it's called as Engineering Management. In fact, we have a very, very specific video on MEM, because majority of the Indian students are engineers, so you can go take a look at this. MEM program is eccentrically meant for engineers. Okay, people from commerce background are not eligible to apply for MEM program, whereas this program is only meant for engineers. There's a video that explains in detail about that. You can take a look at that. But here we're going to generally look at what are the highly specialized program or your techno-managerial programs. Now, some of the lists are mentioned here. This is just a small sample list. There are much more techno-managerial programs and much more highly specialized areas, right? For example, the major one that's picked up is Masters in Information Science. Okay, it's called as IM, right? Or your Masters in Data and Business Analytics, it's called as MSBA. Or your Masters in Financial Engineering. Okay, people who come from strong finance background, this program is applicable. Or core engineers, Masters in Engineering Management, MEM. It's one of the highly suitable programs for you. Or let's say people who come from core engineering background, mechanical, civil, automobile, etc. You guys can pick up something called as Masters in Supply Chain Management. This program gives a very, very special preference to mechanical, people who come from mechanical background. Okay, or Masters in Operation Management. Okay, it's a very interesting background. Again, people from mechanical backgrounds get recruited. Or let's say civil guys, you can pick up something called as Masters in Construction Management. Very, very interesting option. Similarly, people who come from commerce background, you can pick up financial engineering, you can pick up consulting specializations, you can pick up, let's say, banking specializations, etc. Just a small list. There's an exhaustive list that's available, which we can always look into. Right. So this is a typical list. So what I'm going to do a little bit deeper is that I'm going to take one particular list. Okay, I'm going to take one particular program, go a little bit detail. Okay, now what I've told you is just I've convinced you on a very superficial level why a specialized program is more suitable than an MBA or even an MIM. Whereas you need to understand, right, what are the class strengths look like, what are the expectations of the program that I should have before I join that particular program. All those things we'll look into, especially what happens after you complete the program. Okay, MBA is very, very clear. You get recruited in a finance company or a consulting company, whereas MIM or your masters in specialized area, what are the kind of companies recruit. So we'll quickly run through that and then we'll wind it up. Okay. Let me take this particular college called as Carnegie Mellon University, Haynes College. Very, very reputed for this particular program called as Masters in Information System. It's one of the top 5 ranks specifically. That's why I picked up this particular program to discuss. So you'll understand what is the ideal expectation looks like. So then you can decide different universities in different countries have different requirements. Okay, it's the highest requirement basically. Basically, unfortunately, unlike your regular MBA program, they don't have multiple rounds. They have very close deadlines. So let's say you are typically in the end of this year, you're watching this particular video, early stage of the year, by only next year you can apply for this particular program. So you still have your solid 1 year of time to work on that particular thing. Again, the different durations of the course is basically a 16-month program available, a 12-month program available, and a global program available. The difference in these programs are very simple. If you have a very strong prior work experience, you can take a global program or even a 12-month program. But if in a very, very early stage of a career, let's say you've probably completed 6 months to 1 year of work experience, then taking a 16-month program will be more suitable. Look at the fees, guys. 24,000 US dollars per semester, and ideally you run into 2 or maximum 3 trimesters per year. Okay, basically it's a 12-month program, so your fees will at most be 50 to 70,000 US dollars. Whereas when you look at a regular MBA, starting fees itself is around 60,000 US dollars to 70,000 US dollars. Startings, I'm saying about starting. And by the way, MBA is a 2-year program, whereas all these programs are a 1-year program. And this is very important. Your GRE score or your GMAT score requirement. Okay, 161 to 168 out of 170 in GRE. At the same time, if you look at the average GMAT score, it's 48 to 51 out of 51 in GMAT. Okay, your math scores have to be very, very, very strong. Okay, because the name itself says it's called as a Masters in Information Science. This program requires a lot of computation. For example, similarly, let's say you want to get into construction management, or let's say financial engineering. Okay, or let's say you want to specialize something in consulting. Your numbers have to be very, very strong, and that's the reason the university says that your quant score, which is basically your reflection of how strong you're in aptitude with the numbers, will reflect your ability of how strong you are with a particular thing. The university very clearly expects a top-notch number. Average work experience is 3 years. Okay, this is the ideal case. There are programs which expect 1 year of work experience and average work experience. There are some programs which expect bare minimum 2 years. So by the time you guys apply in the next year and you go for your program, you'll have a solid 2 to 3 years of work experience. Average age is 24. It's very, very early stage of your program. Right. Again, another interesting piece is that now if you look at a class of MBA, right, now this is a trend that has been just changing, but if you conventionally look at MBA, right, most of the people just come from an engineering or let's say from a commerce background. Whereas when you look at MS, Masters in Specialized program, for example, the same example that we took, right, MIS and Carnegie Mellon. So if you take these kind of universities, students coming from different background, computer science, engineering and architecture, business management finance, math, statistics, economics, social sciences, very, very eccentric. I think in the previous video itself, we have seen this particular discussion on careers after MIM. If you have not looked at that video, have a look at it. There we have talked about why an MIM or the specialized program are much suitable for people who come from non-common backgrounds. For example, non-finance, non-engineering backgrounds, because a variety of people from different backgrounds are picked up. Similarly, the consequence of that, right? You come from a different background, naturally not a normal consulting firm or finance firm should recruit you. We have banks, or let's say we have human resource functions, or let's say we have policy analysts, okay, core government and core economics. People from those backgrounds also get recruited. That is the reason the representation of the undergrad major is similarly, okay. And that's why we say that these programs are more suitable for whatever you learned in your 4 years of engineering or your 3 years of commerce. Similarly, very, very suitable to what you have worked in your 1 to 2 years of work experience, right? I told you, right, again, these are just basic statistics. Let's actually look at the consequence statistic. What do you mean by that is, you do your master's in highly specialized program, the same MIS example we're considering. What are the kind of careers? Okay, what are the kind of companies that recruit you? What are the kind of salaries that you get? What are the kind of designations that you get? Look at this, right? I'll draw a line here. Look at this, different kind of companies. You have your normal consulting company, a tech company is recruiting, a consulting company is recruiting, a healthcare is recruiting, okay? Again, a bank, electronics company, okay? Again, a manufacturing company, tech company. Again, you have your tech company, finance company, electronics company, tech and lab, electronics company, core tech company. So people coming from different backgrounds, consulting, finance, arts, science, HR functions, technology, core engineering subjects. Again, look at the designation. See, when you complete your MBA, right, the entry level designation, irrespective of whatever typical kind of industry that you get inside, is something called as a management trainee. Okay, you enter in as a management trainee, you prove your prowess for the past, let's say 2 to 3 months or wherever, it depends on the company. Then only a junior manager post is given to you, and then you get promoted similarly. Whereas once you complete these kind of program, yes, if you have a very strong prior work experience, there is a straight chance where you can straight away get into a managerial jobs. That's a very, very interesting option. Okay. At the same time, if you still want to stick to a little bit of technical aspects, not too much delve into the area of management, yes, core technical jobs are also available. Data analyst or a senior analyst or a software engineer or an associate role. Okay, or even an statistical analyst. So different kind of career choices and designations are also available. Now this is the interesting piece. Fees per semester or trimester is basically very, very less. So on an average, you spend what, around 60 to maximum 60,000 US dollars. Okay, whereas look at the average starting salaries. Now, whereas look at the average starting salary, the maximum salary is 165,000 US dollars per annum. Okay, if you think only the best guy would get that salary, if you look at the average salary or what we call as the mean salary or the median salary, upward of 100,000 US dollars. The bare minimum salary is 74,000 US dollars. Okay, so which means unlike an MBA program or an MIM program where your return on investments are pretty decent, but it's a huge risk that you're taking, this has a maximum return on investment. So even if you get the lowest salary, your chance of repaying the loan in less than 1 year becomes very, very high. If you work really good, your average starting salaries are much, much higher. You repay the loan much earlier. If you work exceptionally well, your starting salaries are double of what you pay as a tuition fee. Okay, which means the return on investment is massive. You start much earlier with your return on investments, and what you call as making money on your investments becomes much, much higher. That's why, guys, most of the students don't even pick up these programs because they don't know such program exists. And even if they know this program, they don't know what are the consequences. So we have made a very deep analysis regarding what are the kind of companies that recruit, what are the kind of designations that you get, what are the kind of students studying those programs. Everything is clearly justified. So you can make this decision towards a highly specialized program in a more informed way. Again, another interesting program called as Masters in Business Analytics. For example, people who come from computer science background or people who come from, let's say, consulting background who want to shift into this domain called as data analytics. This is one of the hottest programs in today's job market called as Masters in Business Analytics. There's another video where we have explained in detail about the Masters in Business Analytics program. So since this is a part of a highly specialized program, I'm discussing on a superficial level here. Again, look at this. Only one rounds are available. Okay. Fees is little bit much higher compared to your Masters in Information Science. GRE quant scores has to be massively high. Similarly, GMAT scores have to be 49 to 51 out of 51. Okay, because it's very, very clear, right? When you get into data analytics, your number crunching ability has to be very, very strong. So that reflection will come there only if your aptitude score in your GMAT or GRE is massively high. Again, average years and work experience is 2 years and 25 years respectively, right? Again, look at this, the top undergrad majors. Okay, see, nobody studies data science in their undergrad. Okay, unlike an BTech in engineering, BTech in commerce, there's nothing called as a BTech in data science. At the most, CS graduates specialize in AI and data science. Maybe commerce graduates, you do a little bit of number crunching while you're consulting, let's say even in a strategic consulting of something of that sort. You do a little bit number crunching, so you know a little bit of data background there. Okay, whereas people who get selected for masters in business analytics, look at their undergrad background. People from computer science, economics, electrical engineering, finance, industrial engineering, maths, mechanical engineering, physics. Okay, now just tell me, guys, the people from all these backgrounds, right? A very, very small percentage of them gets into an MBA program, which further lets you into a consulting firm where you can work as a senior business analyst. Okay, whereas when you want to get into a core data scientist, the companies that recruit will naturally expect you to have two things. Either have a solid work experience in analytics. Okay, you have a solid work experience in analytics, I'll recruit you in this firm of data science or in the domain of data science. Or you have a master's in a specialized program. Okay, master's in a specialized program where you have specialized in data science. Then I'll recruit you. Okay, so people who come from these backgrounds, this options becomes very, very challenging. Why? Because you need to join a particular company, then you put the dependency on the particular company, right? For example, if they have a data science project or they have such a role that they will put you in that particular role, then you can start growing in that ladder, right? Again, when you become a data scientist, they straight away don't put you in a data scientist. They put you as a research analyst, okay, research associate, and then you become a research analyst, and then you start crunching little bit of data numbers. Then you only become a data scientist. So even that's a very, very long journey that will happen. Whereas the masters in this business, data science and business analytics, It is an accelerator, okay? You did not have prior strong work experience, data science or background. At the same time, it straight away put you into a senior role and all these things. But in order to get into the program, there are some requirements. That's why I told you, right? Where there is a video separately where we discuss in detail about this masters in data and business analytics. So for people who are willing to make the shift to this particular program, this is a very, very interesting option that you guys can consider. The reason why this is discussed here is that all these programs come in some under the bandwidth called as masters in highly specialized program, which is more suitable for you. Okay, so hopefully this video discusses the advantages of doing a highly specialized program compared to a regular conventional MBA or even an MIM program for that matter. So watch more and more videos to enrich your knowledge. Hopefully this will help you to take a more informed decision about your pursuing your masters abroad. Thank you very much, guys.